If you were around back when Generation 2 of Pokemon got released, Whitney's Miltank probably became your worst nightmare for a good amount of time. I sure remember being stuck on the third gym of the entire game with a Quilava because of rollout. Well, today, all trainers in Johto and Kanto will get a taste of Moo Moo Milk, as we're about to go on a rampage with a Miltank ourselves. Before we start, there are two things we should talk about. First off, the rules for the run. Miltank only, obviously. This Miltank will have all of its IVs set to 31, and that's to ensure a fair comparison with other videos of this kind I'll be making in the future with other Pokemon. There will be two moves I won't be allowed to change, those being Milk Drink and Rollout as a homage to Whitney's Miltank. No items in battle. We want to know just how far this cute pink cow will take us. I am allowed to bring other Pokemon with me, but they'll only be used for HMs. Because there will be other Pokemon on the team, I will have the game on set mode for the entirety of the run. This rule does contain an exception, and that's double battles. In this game there are a couple double battles along the way, so you'll definitely notice that by the end of the game, all my Pokemon will have risen in level. It's not like I especially care about this. Even if I do end up dealing damage with a Pokemon, I'm not so strict as not to allow one or two exceptions, as long as it isn't something that can change the outcome of a battle. If it's something minor, I'll allow it. Though I will always try to use a useless move that doesn't deal damage or give me an unfair advantage, so I'll give priority to moves like Growth. Lastly, the idea is to go as far as possible, but we'll only consider the game to be completed once Red is defeated on Mount Silver. And that's it for the rules. I want to take the opportunity before the run for a shameless plug. Roughly 6% of people watching my videos are currently subscribed, making these longer videos take a considerable amount of time, and as such, I would really appreciate it if you could take just a couple seconds of your time and like and subscribe to the channel, as it would greatly help me reach new heights. With this out of the way, prepare some cookies, a big jug of milk, and let's roll out. Enjoy. We begin our freshly created save file by naming ourselves Plasma. Once we leave our house, we get pushed back by our soon-to-be rival and we enter Professor Elm's lab. We're prompted to choose our starter Pokemon, so we get our Miltank, name it Moo Moo, and go on our way. Elm asks us to go meet Mr. Pokemon because he found something out. So we head for his house, he gives us an egg, we get the Pokédex from Professor Oak, and we're sent back to Elm's lab. Once we leave Mr. Pokemon's house, Elm calls us with an emergency, so we need to head back there as soon as possible. We go back all the way to Cherry Grove City, and as we're leaving for New Bark Town, our red-headed rival runs into us for the first rival battle. Nothing much to say here, we easily win by tackling over and over. We go back to Elm's lab where we're prompted to give our rival's name to the policeman. I usually just go for 3 question marks on personal playthroughs. However, this time around, I'm going to play the bad guy, so the rival's name will be Pix. We show the egg to Elm, and we're told to go to Violet City and start collecting badges. We talk to our mom before leaving town, avoiding an unnecessary call later. Then Lyra teaches us how to catch a Pokemon, gives us a couple Pokeballs, and leaves. Now we can really start the game. Making our way to Violet City, we battle all trainers and catch ourselves a Pidgey and a Bellsprout. Upon reaching Violet City, the first thing I do is go up Sprout Tower. There's really nothing big to say about this place. We make our way up and defeat every single trainer on our way, netting us the TM for Flash at the end, which we teach the Bellsprout. Next up, Faulkner's Gym. Again, nothing of interest here. We go into Faulkner's battle with a weakened Miltank, but even so, a single stomp defeats Pidgey, and thanks to a flinch from the first stomp used on Pidgeotto, we only get hit once in the entire battle, and only by a tackle, which doesn't deal nearly enough damage to put us in danger. So this battle is done. Faulkner gives us our first badge and we leave the gym. Elm calls us and tells us to go to the Pokemart to talk to his assistant, and once we do, we're gifted the egg back. A kimono girl runs into us as we leave the shop and tells us the egg is very important, whatever that means. She leaves and we're yet again free to explore the land. The next area is completely devoid of any dangerous situation, so we easily breeze through the route and the cave and we soon reach Azalea town. We immediately head for Kurt's house and he storms off, directly towards the town's well. Tasked with defeating the rocket grunts, that's exactly what we do. Not a single sweat broken. Even Executive Proton is no match for Miltank's might. With that done, we head back outside with Kurt. Next on the list is Azalea's gym leader Bugsy. We get through the trainers in the gym way too easily. Once we get to the gym leader, I start by trying to set up my defense. Scyther uses U-turn on turn 1 and it hurts a lot. But thanks to that move, Scyther leaves the battle and Metapod is sent in. I'm then easily able to set up Defense Curl to the max, then heal with Milk Drink. Once I deal with Metapod, Scyther is next. After a back and forth, Scyther eventually uses U-turn again, and because critical hits ignore status buffs, I get reduced to lower than half HP again. Thankfully, Bugsy has to send Kakuna because of the move again, so after healing with Milk Drink, I stomp Kakuna and finish off Scyther as soon as it comes back, as Bugsy had already used a super potion on it earlier. A cool thing happens, as we learn Rollout as soon as we're done with this battle. We now have the 2 moves we can forget for the entirety of the game. 2 badges, 14 to go. Once out, we quickly heal and battle our rival for the second time. Needless to say, but Rollout's ground type is very effective against all of Pix's Pokemon. So after quickly dealing with both Ghastly and Quilava, we missed against Zubat. But Zubat is also unable to confuse our unshakable Miltank, and so we put an end to this very trivial battle. We help a kid get back his 2 Farfetch'd and get rewarded with Cut, teaching it to Bellsprout. Nothing to talk about until we get to Goldenrod. However, we do teach Headbutt to Miltank, then meet Lyra's grandparents, who run the daycare. Once in Goldenrod, the first thing we need to do is give Whitney a taste of her own medicine. We head for the gym, our egg finally hatches, we destroy all trainers in here, and finally, we square off against Whitney. I'm so confident I'll win that I don't even bother going back to the Poke Center and heal after beating the other trainers. Rollout. Just that. Rollout. I don't need to say anything else. Although I miss on my first turn, I then use it again and hit 5 times in a row, completely obliterating both Clefairy and Miltank. Well, seems like she reacted the same way we all did after losing to her over and over when we were kids. But we're not here to kid around, we're on a mission. So after pressing her, she gives us our 3rd badge and we move on. We get the squirt bottle as we leave the gym and proceed to the next route. And I noticed something. I seem to get paralyzed a lot. This will become a recurring thing in this game, and I end up having to buy a bunch of healing items to use after battles, just because of the sheer amount of times it ends up happening to me. We obviously battle all trainers all the way to Sudowoodo, including in the National Park. In the meantime, we also learned the move Body Slam, and because battles will get harder as we progress and I'll have less and less time to set up any buffs, I decide to replace Defense Curl. We also take a look at the Pokeathlon. For some reason, although I've played this game before, I've never tried this out. Because I was playing on 2 times speed, I ended up losing. But hey, no time for fun, we need to move. After not so easily defeating Sudowoodo, we get Rock Smash and defeat the next few trainers, and finally reach Ecruteak City. We meet Bill in the Poke Center, defeat a Rocket Grunt harassing a Kimono Girl, I get the HM for Surf, then head to the Burn Tower for another rival battle against Pix. This battle is a bit different from the last one, and the reason for this is that Pix learned from his last defeat and caught the Magnemite. It's like he knew how bad paralysis would be for me, so after paralyzing me, I had to juggle between dealing damage and healing with Milk Drink. We eventually defeat the rival without too much difficulty, it's just that being paralyzed made things much slower. After meeting the 3 legendary dogs, we battle a few fire breathers and... Wait. I don't think it's a very good idea to let fire breathers in a burned tower. Next up on the list is Morty's gym. I'm skipping over the trainers. Ghost-type Pokemon are weak against Rollout, so every encounter here is over in a few seconds. What I'm not skipping is the fact that I learned Zen Headbutt while defeating these trainers. I now have 2 moves I can use to defeat Ghost-type Pokemon. Great. Time for Morty. I decide to use Zen Headbutt instead of Rollout. While the damage potential of Rollout is higher, using Zen Headbutt has higher damage from the get-go and can also flinch. This is actually what happens against Morty's Gengar, which is the only Pokemon that doesn't fade in one turn, which means I'm able to defeat Morty without sustaining a single point of damage. We now have 2 options. Either catch a Pokemon that can surf and go east from Ecruteak, or go west, which is what makes the most sense right now, so after defeating a few trainers on the next route, we finally reach Miltank Heaven. I ask Moo Moo how it's feeling, and it's obviously feeling great. After helping out a sick Miltank by giving it a couple orange berries, we defeat a few more trainers and eventually reach Olivine. We have a quick one-sided chat with our rival, then go get ourselves the good rod so we can catch a surfing Pokemon, then I completely forgot that the HM for strength isn't obtained here like the original Gen 2 games. So we go back to Ecruteak, go east, get the HM, and we take the opportunity to catch a Goldeen to surf and a Geodude inside Mount Mortar so we can teach strength. Back in Olivine, we clear the lighthouse, start the Ampharos quest, and get ourselves all the way to Cyanide City. Yes, before you ask, all trainers were defeated in the process. As soon as we set foot in Cyanwood, we grab the medicine for Ampharos and go straight for Chuck's gym. I'll be honest, I was thinking that out of all Johto gyms, the one that would give me the most trouble would be this one. But then again, I had Zen Headbutt, so after easily defeating all trainers in here, we stop Chuck's waterfall and challenge him. Chuck has 2 Pokemon, a Primeape and a Poliwrath. I got lucky on both Pokemon, as Primeape flinches on the first turn, then Chuck heals it and I hit it twice to defeat it. Then Poliwrath comes out and I hit another Zen Headbutt and it's a crit. And so, just like Morty, we beat the battle without losing a single HP. After leaving the gym, we get rewarded with the HM for Fly, then head north to battle Eugene. This battle isn't difficult, it's just paralysis, again. I hate this status ailment in this game, even more so than sleep or confusion. We fly back to Olivine, get the medicine to Ampharos, and now it's time to battle Jasmine. And what do you know? She has Pokemon that can paralyze me. I'll say this, if it wasn't for paralysis, I would have easily beaten this battle, but there are 2 problems here. While paralysis is something I can somehow manage, Steelix, Jasmine's last Pokemon, uses Iron Tail. And dude, does that hurt. So yeah, just like that, out of nowhere, when I least expected it, I get my first loss in the game. I decide I'm not going to try again just yet, as there are other things I can do right now. So I fly back to Ecruteak and head right. Nothing much goes on here, as we defeat all trainers all the way to Mahogany. Because the gym leader, Price, isn't around, we head north, pay the toll to Team Rocket because I felt like helping out a small business, then defeat the trainers all the way to the Lake of Rage, where we obviously defeat the shiny Gyarados. We meet Lance, he tells us to go back to Mahogany because something's cooking. We go back and notice Lance woke up with a mission today, as he tells his Dragonite to hyper beam a person in the face. I know you've already heard this a couple times at this point, but we easily dispatch all trainers all the way to one of the quote-unquote big bosses of this section, Executive Patrel. This battle goes as you would expect, with me completely decimating his team with Rollout. With that done, we follow a Murkrow that can imitate Patrel's voice all the way to a door that had been closed all this time. Murkrow says the password and the door finally opens, but we're interrupted by Executive Ariana and a grunt. This battle is why I didn't bother with double battles to begin with, because if I really wanted to make this 100% Miltank only, I would have to bother defeating Lance's Pokemon so he couldn't deal damage to any of these Pokemon either. In this battle, I noticed something. I'm overleveled. I'm so overleveled in fact, that Miltank is already stronger than Lance's Dragonite. But we do have a reason for this now, as we need to be able to defeat Jasmine when we eventually have to go back. Anyway, this battle is a breeze, and as soon as they leave, we're left to defeat a couple Electrodes. The first one paralyzes me, and because I know what these guys are all about, I don't even bother healing after the first one and I defeat the other two while retaining the side assailment. Lance gives us the HM for Whirlpool and leaves. We're now free to challenge the town's gym. The trainers are as easy as always, and Price isn't super difficult to beat either. We start off by using Rollout, and the move carries us all the way to his last Pokemon, Dewgong. I go for Rollout again, but miss on the second turn. It was actually a good thing, as I take this chance to heal up, and after 2 body slams, another badge gets its place in our badge case. We now have to go back to the battle I've been dreading for the past hour or so, and for good reason, as even though we trained a lot on the trainers and got 2 gym badges since the last attempt, I'm still defeated by Jasmine's Steelix. The fact I get paralyzed is definitely a huge problem. But Steelix's Iron Tail can deal more damage than I can heal with Milk Drink, so after a couple turns, I end up losing once again. It now comes down to something I wanted to avoid doing. I teach Surf to Miltank and forget Zen Headbutt. It's not like I can't forget this move later, but I wanted to avoid this if possible. Although I very stupidly lose against Jasmine again because Miltank gets fully paralyzed over and over and I can't seem to be able to deal damage or heal myself, I end up succeeding on the very next attempt. I won't explain the whole battle. I defeat the 2 Magnemite and get to Steelix while being paralyzed, like always. But just 2 uses of Surf are able to make quick work of Steelix. It's unfortunate that I had to lose a couple times to get this battle done, but it is done now. Okay, so here's the thing. At this point in the game, Elm calls us to say that there's something wrong at the radio tower. I'll be completely honest here. I don't know about you, but I've always thought this part of the game was really dragged out, as you need to do a billion things and get through a lot of trainers. It's one thing if you avoid all possible trainers, but if you do it like I do, defeating every possible trainer, it takes a while. So with this said, I'm going to spare you the details and go over this part quite quickly. We fly back to Goldenrod, get ourselves a cool looking rocket uniform, our plan falls flat as Pix can't keep his mouth shut. Wait, am I roasting myself? Anyway, we climb the radio tower, battle all trainers, easily defeat Patrel again even though we get poisoned, then head to the city's underground tunnel where we meet a kimono girl for no reason, and finally we meet our rival again for another battle. This battle isn't super difficult, but I do end up achieving victory by being lucky, all because I got overconfident. I defeat Golbat very easily, and although Pix's Magnemite paralyzes us for the millionth time in this game, we still defeat Magnemite and Quilava very quickly. Sneasel goes down to a single body slam, and now we get to Haunter with 99 HP. The thing is, I didn't want to heal, so I used Rollout. I miss on the first turn and Haunter uses Mean Look. It then uses Curse on the second turn, reducing its health. However, although we hit with Rollout, we are unable to defeat it, and so Curse takes away a portion of our health. Third turn, Haunter uses Confuse Ray, and although Miltank doesn't hit itself, it also gets fully paralyzed, and Curse takes yet another portion of our HP, reducing us all the way down to 15. Haunter could have defeated me here, but thankfully it goes for Confuse Ray again, and I don't hit myself, nor am I fully paralyzed, and I'm able to defeat it. Back to speedrunning this part. We battle all trainers all the way to the real director of the radio tower. He gives us the card key we need to unlock the second part of the tower. We buy a few more full heals because the ones I have never seem to be enough, go back to the radio tower, battle Proton and Ariana again, easily overpowering them, and finally, we get to meet the highest executive of the reformed Team Rocket, Archer. Rollout. Yes, again, rollout is all I need. All of Archer's Pokemon are weak against the ground type. Upon losing, Archer says that he'll do just as his predecessor Giovanni did, and he'll disband Team Rocket. After he vanishes, the director comes up and gives us the Rainbow Wing. We leave the radio tower and head straight to Mahogany, where we then battle all trainers on our way to Blackthorn City, while we make sure not to forget picking up the HM4 Waterfall. We reach the city and the first thing I do is go for Get Surf. And it sucks that we need to give a heart scale if we want to remember anything else, as I don't have any. And although I could go get one right now, I don't really care much. There's not really anything crazy I could recall right now that would give me a noticeable advantage against Claire, the next gym leader. But I had something much better in mind. See, I knew that Claire was a Dragon-type Pokemon trainer. Turns out, Miltank can learn Blizzard. So back when I was in Goldenrod, I bought 2 of those, just in case I would need to replace it with something after Claire and learn it again later. Speaking of gym leader, it literally just takes me around 4 minutes from the moment I leave the Move the Leader's house to the point I reach Claire in her gym. Gotta say, my level allows me to mow everything down right now. Claire starts with a Gyarados, and one thing about this Pokemon is that it's also flying type, so rollout is very effective against it. With that said, I start by using it. Gyarados goes down in 3 turns, which allows me to one-shot both Dragonair and Kingdra. However, because rollout only hits for a maximum of 5 turns before it needs to restart, I now have to use something else. Needless to say, I use Blizzard and what do you know? I freeze Dragonair on my very first attempt. Even though Claire uses a Hyper Potion, there's no one doing that freezing status, girl. So Dragonair goes down and we're now halfway through all 16 badges. Well, not exactly, but we do go into the Dragon's Den, we answer the questions, Claire gets jealous we're a better person she thought we were, and really gives us our badge this time. If you're wondering how it's possible that after 8 badges, the video is already over 50% done and there's still the Elite Four, the post-game and Mount Silver to do, you'll understand very soon. As we leave the Dragon's Den, Elm calls us and we're now tasked to go back to the lab. Once there, he gives the Master Ball to us and says some kimono girls were looking for me. We know where to go next, so we fly to Ecruteak and as we're about to enter the dance theater, Pix comes out and says he lost to them. Pfft, watch and learn, Pix, we'll show you how it's done. Wait. No. I can't believe I actually lost against them too. Well, crap. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I hate paralysis in this game. The next attempt is even worse, as I paralyze the first opponent, Umbreon, and its ability activates, paralyzing me as well. Thankfully, this time we're able to overcome our paralysis twice against Jolteon, and we're ultimately able to defeat all 5 kimono girls. Still, it stings to know that I actually lost here. But it does say something about this run. Any electric type Pokemon, or any Pokemon in general that can paralyze me is a huge threat. I don't care about any other status ailment at this point. Paralysis is the bane of this run. So we clear this challenge. And by clear, I mean we get the clear bell. I'm gonna skip the next section, as it's not really fun to go up a tower with a million ramps. But I can tell you that we're not here to play, so of course we defeat Ho-Oh at the top. The kimono girl next to us displays her disapproval of us defeating a legendary Pokemon, but she hints that it's possible to meet this Pokemon again later. Spoiler, we don't come back. It's finally time to go to the Elite Four. I hate paralysis. I hate paralysis. Ooh, Vaporeon. Oh, we're here already? Cool! So one last battle against our rival before we hit the league. We start off by using Rollout. This easily gets rid of Sneasel. However, I miss on my first turn against Golbat. Don't think this is bad though, it's actually the opposite really. Because of this, once I heal with Milk Drink and get over the confusion Golbat inflicted, I then use Rollout again. Using it here allowed me to defeat Golbat in 2 turns, Typhlosion in 1 shot, Kadabra in 1 shot, and most importantly, Magneton in 1 shot. This means that I head into Pix's last Pokemon, Haunter, without being paralyzed. There is one thing I forgot to mention throughout the whole game. Miltank's ability is Scrappy, which lets me hit Ghost-type Pokemon with normal and fighting-type moves. Thanks to this, I choose to defeat Haunter with Body Slam. I didn't choose this ability on purpose, it just ended up being like that, and I'm quite glad it did. Also, one last thing, this ability doesn't protect me from the ability Intimidate, like in the Gen 8 games, so a Pokemon like Gyarados will always be able to reduce my attack stat. Okay, Pix is done for. He goes back from whence he came, and Plasma's free to take on the Pokemon League. I heal my Pokemon, sell all unnecessary items, buy some full heals and full restores, save, and take my first step into Will's room. Here's one thing about the league. I decided I was going to beat all members without saving. There wasn't a big reason for this, I just decided I would do that. However, and this is what I wanted to say, I have to carefully manage my PP restoring items, because if I spend them all and end up losing, I'll then be unable to complete the league. Anyway, time for our first battle. Will's battle isn't anything crazy to defeat, and I do it on my very first attempt. However, I then lose against Koga's Crobat because I got hit with Toxic against Muck. That sucks because I probably would have won if Miltank hadn't missed rollout on the following turn. I deposit all my remaining Pokemon in the PC because of course I forgot to do that earlier, then I try again. This time surely I'll... yeah, okay. Again... what? Anyway, we finally get a good attempt. We start by using rollout like always, defeating Ariados in 2 hits, Forretress in 2 hits, and finally, Muck in a single shot. This then allows me to cruise with rollout again, defeating Crobat and Venomoth like they're nothing. We quickly check if we have enough PP for the next member and head straight for Bruno. I never really thought I'd say this, but yes, I lost to Bruno. It hurts, it really does. I mean, I can't really say anything. Machamp has cross chop. It's very effective against Miltank, and it deals a lot of damage, so it's fair, I guess. Oh yeah, another thing I forgot to mention before, but I don't restart the game after every attempt. As long as I have PP restoring items, I'll keep trying in the same instance, as it helps me by increasing my level little by little. We get back to Bruno's battle on the very next attempt, and this time I get a lucky crit on Machamp and the rest of the battle is a breeze. Time for everyone's favorite Karen. The battle starts, and as an attempt to try and spare PP on other more important moves, I start using Body Slam after Body Slam. I actually get quite lucky here, as I don't paralyze Umbreon even once. If I had, it would have been another instance of I hate paralysis. Anyway, Karen then sends Gengar, and you know what that means. It means that because I keep missing rollout, I end up fainting. That's what it means. I notice after this attempt that I have a few rare candies lying around, so I use them and try again. By this point, Will, Koga and Bruno are all much easier to deal with. We get to Karen again at level 65. This time we hit Umbreon with rollout, as we don't want anything unnecessary to happen to us. When Gengar is sent, I go for Body Slam in an attempt to one-shot. Although it doesn't happen and Gengar isn't fully paralyzed, it goes for Spite. It kinda sucks, but at the same time, Body Slam isn't exactly my most used move right now. We get to Houndoom and holy crap was that close! I could have defeated it on the following turn, but I didn't know exactly what Pokemon Karen would send next, so I decided to start healing. I get lucky because I don't get hit with another critical hit, and so I defeat Houndoom, then proceed to use rollout to defeat both Vileplume and Murkrow. I didn't really expect the Murkrow at the end, I'll be honest. It feels misplaced somehow. Well, we're now 4 for 4. All that remains for me to become champion and move on to Kanto is to defeat Lance. We heal up, use an ether on Milk Drink and Body Slam just in case, then we challenge the self-proclaimed Dragon Master. I'm kind of ashamed to say this, but this battle was so easy it felt like child's play. Really. Lance sends out Gyarados and I start by using rollout, like you would expect. This move allows me to defeat not only Gyarados, but his 2 following Dragonite as well. A third Dragonite is sent, but Blizzard makes quick work of it. Lance's next Pokemon is Charizard, because we all know Charizard's a dragon, no use denying it. You know it, I know it, we all know it. I start using rollout, defeating it in 2 turns. Then Lance sends Aerodactyl, and although rollout doesn't defeat it by a very small margin, it misses Rock Slide and on the next turn, Lance uses a full restore to no avail, as an even more powerful rollout rolls in and Aerodactyl's history. Anyway, yada yada yada, we get crowned champion and we move on to Kanto. I'm not going into details about anything here, although I will show this to you because I thought it was funny. As soon as we start the post-game, we get the SS ticket from Elm and head into Route 29. And on the very first step we take into the grass, Entei shows up because why not? I've played this game very few times over the years, so I don't know if this is intended or not, but I thought it was a big coincidence. Why did I go into the grass in the first place? Well, I do have to get my Pokemon back from the PC. Anyway, if you've played these games, then you know what happens in the post-game. But if you haven't, this part of the game doesn't really have anything big happening. There are a few fetch quests and whatnot, but really, it's all about defeating the gym leaders so you can unlock Mount Silver. You also know by now that I go around defeating every trainer I can find. Well, except I don't. Because I managed to become champion by level 66, I figured I wouldn't need to train much for the remaining gym leaders. So for this portion of the game, I don't worry much about the trainers and I go mainly for the gym leaders. I do defeat everyone in the SS Aqua and some trainers in Kanto, but I leave out a good amount of them. This will be important later. So here you have me defeating all gym leaders without a care in the world. I say that, but there were 3 of them that actually gave me some trouble. First off, we've got Surge, that I barely managed to defeat on my very first attempt because guess what? I hit paralysis. I mean, I beat Brock with 10 HP remaining, but that was just because I was using every move except the one I should. Second, while I did lose once against Janine, it's not like the battle gave me any trouble. I was just unlucky to get hit with Toxic. Finally, third, it's kind of obvious, but the very last gym leader, Blue, also gave me a bit of trouble. And if you thought it was because of Machamp, well, you'd be half right. I lost twice to Arcanine and 3 times to Machamp, but I eventually get a break and end up winning. I start by defeating Exeggutor with Body Slam. Machamp comes up and 2 Body Slams are enough to defeat it. While I did get confused from Dynamic Punch, I overcome it against Arcanine. This one needs to get dealt with ASAP, as Flare Blitz deals massive damage. Thankfully, it only uses this move once, as on the second turn it uses Roar, and because I completely forgot to deposit my remaining Pokemon, I have to send Miltank back in. Then, once Miltank does make it back, it uses Extreme Speed, and so we're able to defeat it with a second Body Slam. Rhydon is next, and because I miss Blizzard over and over, and a couple of full restores thrown in the mix, I end up having to chip away at its health with Body Slam too. Once Rhydon's gone, I then switch over to Rollout to take care of both Gyarados and Pidgeot, none of which deal any damage at all to me. Now that this is out of the way, Professor Oak calls us and we now head for his lab. He gives us the HM for Rock Climb and access to Mount Silver. We don't exactly need to go over the trip there, so we'll cut to the battle instead. Just know that by this point, Miltank is level 79. As we start the battle, we face a level 88 Pikachu, and because I don't have any other ground type move other than Rollout, I start off by using Body Slam. This doesn't defeat Pikachu in one hit, and I get hit with Volt Tackle. This causes recoil and Pikachu faints, but it hit like a train, and I lose more than half of my HP. Red's second Pokemon is Blastoise, and as soon as I heal up, I get hit with a Focus Blast, which deals even more damage than the health I just recovered. I think to myself that it's probably not going to do the same thing twice. And although I'm correct, it's actually for the worse. Because Blastoise uses Blizzard, I get frozen, and then another Blizzard finishes the job. Yeah, that's how pathetic my first attempt went here. I try again right after under the same conditions, but because I hate paralysis, Pikachu defeats me this time. After losing once more, I decide to look on Bulbapedia to see what kind of move I could get that could potentially help me out. I decide on 2 of them, those being Earthquake and Thunderbolt. I quickly get the 2 of them, and because Thunderbolt was inside of Cerulean Cave, might as well defeat Mewtwo while I'm at it. Well, back to Red, and this time with both Thunderbolt for Blastoise and Earthquake for Pikachu. Needless to say, Earthquake is quite a strong move, and so we beat Pikachu in one shot. Except Thunderbolt isn't what I expected. Granted, Miltank's special attack stat isn't great, but to think that it deals so little damage, I end up being defeated by Hail of all things. It's not until a few minutes later that I finally see Red's third Pokemon, Venusaur. And if you thought the worst had passed, you'd be completely wrong, as Venusaur knows Sludge Bomb and Frenzy Plant. While one of them deals a good chunk of damage and has the chance to poison me after every use, the other deals a lot of damage, reducing me all the way from 144 to 0. It's funny to think that even a single crit from Pikachu can defeat me easily. Once my defeats reach 30, I've had just about enough of being beaten, so I head out and go battle all the trainers I left behind. I told you this would be important for later. Oh yeah, I also beat Articuno. I even go as far as going to Johto and battle the Fighting Dojo Master from Saffron. Well, this is it. I'm as ready as I'll ever be. I could have grinded the Elite Four and leveled up all the way to 100, but where's the fun in that? Here are Miltank's stats before heading into battle. Notice how I've been playing the entire time with a Miltank that has an attack reducing nature. Anyway, Red's battle finally starts again. First attempt, Blastoise Hydro Cannons me all the way to the moon. Second attempt, a Focus Blast does the same. Third attempt, and we make it to Venusaur, but because it inflicts poison on me, I end up using Milk Drink way too many times and I decide to restart because, well, this is going nowhere. Before starting the fourth attempt, I figured that Venusaur is a bigger threat than Blastoise, so I replaced Thunderbolt for Blizzard. Fourth attempt. Although we make it to Venusaur again, poison makes it so much harder and we faint again. I'm prepared to spend the next day farming this. Again, I could level up all the way to 100 and it could potentially make a difference, but I've got a feeling I can do it. Fifth attempt and we finally make it to Charizard for the first time. We are asleep though, as Venusaur left us a parting gift, but thankfully we wake up right before being defeated and we're able to heal up. To no avail, alas, as Charizard burns us and we're ultimately defeated once again. Sixth attempt, Blastoise freezes us, so no victory this time. Seventh attempt, Pikachu faints from Earthquake. By this point I've got a pretty good grasp of how I need to defeat Blastoise and Venusaur. So by carefully managing the damage I deal and the damage we both sustain from hail at the end of turns, I'm able to make it to Charizard again. After barely using all of my milk drink uses trying to mend up the damage done by Air Slash, Charizard finally misses once and we're able to use Rollout. Thanks to the hail damage from other turns and a lucky crit, we're able to defeat this Pokemon. Red sends Lapras next, and now we're committed to Rollout, so for better or for worse, we'll have to stick with it. Rollout on turn 1, Lapras goes for Blizzard, reducing us down to 151 HP. This is bad, one more of these and I can probably kiss victory goodbye. Rollout on turn 2, and I'm barely unable to defeat Lapras, so another Blizzard hits, and while this reduces me to 55 HP, the hail makes it go down to 36. Red uses a full restore and I'm like, well, this is it. But actually, Rollout is on its 4th turn now, and thanks to that, Lapras faints. Hail reduces my health to 17 HP. Anything else touches me, I'm done. Red finally sends his last Pokemon, Snorlax, and as luck would have dictated it, Rollout is on its final turn. It thankfully connects, and as soon as Snorlax is sent into battle, it goes back to sleep. This was incredibly lucky. If this had missed, either Snorlax or Hail would have been able to defeat me. So the fact Rollout was on its last turn and it connected was so lucky I initially couldn't believe it. I've played enough with a Magikarp to know when a battle comes down to RNG, so I'm pretty sure that if I lost here, I would probably be looking at hours of grinding to get that one result. Still, I can't complain. I managed to beat the game in 9 hours, 36 minutes and 37 seconds. I'll be making a comparative table, ranking all Pokemon depending on their end time. This table will be different for all games, which means that, say, Magikarp from Gen 1 will be on a different table from this Miltank from the Gen 4 remakes. Same with the original games versus the remakes. Anyway, yeah, this was Pokemon Heart Gold with a single Miltank that can't forget how to roll and drink milk. Before ending this video, I'd like to remind you that if you like the video and this kind of content, and if you'd like to see more of it, I'd very much appreciate it if you could take a few seconds to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I'd like to thank you in advance, even if you don't, as watching my videos also helps me out. One very last thing before I leave. If you've seen community posts from me over the past 2 weeks, you probably already know that the next Pokemon solo run will be with Mudkip. There will be a twist to it, which I personally think is really cool, but we'll talk about it when we actually get there. With that being said, we'll see each other again on the next video. My name's Growvyle. Thanks for watching.